Welcome back to our continued discussion about the four P's of marketing. I'm Scott Smith. I'm the Vice President of Builder Designs. I've been with the company and working with builders for about 14 years now, and I'm joined here by Chip Johnson. He's the founder and president of Builder Designs. Chip's been in the business for a long time, worked with a number of builders throughout the country, and has a good perspective when it comes to marketing and pricing. And today, that is actually what we're going to talk about: how pricing kind of factors into your marketing plan, and what we're seeing out there, and what other builders are seeing. So, Chip, when you think about pricing and how it pertains to marketing, what kind of jumps into your mind?
Oh, two things. One, pricing is high. If you're a consumer, these prices are out of reach. That's kind of on the surface. I would say that's that people are going, yeah, this is ridiculous. I can't afford this. But I think to me, the smart play is not really focus on price, focus on affordability, and by doing that, communicate payment, monthly payment that everybody buys on monthly payment. Everybody has a budget. They know where they need to be. And if you can communicate that as opposed to just, top line pricing, I think we've seen that in the marketing and the things that we've done, the campaigns that resonates far more than, making somebody, run the math and figure out what 5 3/8 or 6.5 is going to mean for them on a monthly payment. I think that's the opportunity. It's really fine tuning and integrating the financing, the campaigns and things like that, so that you're able to communicate a monthly payment to people.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I do think the consumers are a little bit more familiar now with what the rates mean and how it affects what that payment can be, but it's not spelled out for them. I think again, we don't when they're on a website or where they're looking at an ad, we really don't want to have to make them think and like you said, make them do the math. We want to do as much for them as we can and really you know make it easy for them to find something that fits into their budget. This time of year, we're recording this in June. It's usually for us, it's a slower time of the year. We usually see the builders slow down. I know just from a marketing standpoint for us, we're seeing actually more people requesting new websites or getting ready for the fall or even early next year. We're also seeing some increases in people asking us to do branding campaigns or simple seasonal advertising type of approaches. What are you? I mean, it's kind of out of the ordinary. What do you think is kind of causing that? What are you seeing?
I think it's well, I mean, I think it's a combination of things, but right now I think it's the realization that we're in this rate environment we're going to be here for a while. If this is our new normal, quote unquote, then we got to figure out how to win. When I say win, sell homes, to buyers that are sitting on the sidelines. Yeah, right. Summer, everybody takes a breather. We've got all our marketing in place. We've got our website rolling. We've got all of the things going that we normally do. But I think that now, in my mind, is really the time to go out and gain market share, to create new products, new promos, go out and try to, be aggressive now. And while everybody else is kind of, sitting on the sidelines. That's what I would say that we're seeing, Scott, you and I, in the business of selling websites, we see people are hanging on to websites longer. It used to be every 2 3 years need a new website. Well, we're seeing it's more like 4 years now, maybe even 5 years for some, very successful builders, because they're making incremental improvements to the site, year over year, and they're adding new things in, functionality, et cetera. And I think that, we're seeing that as it relates to the tech stack. And so when we talk about a tech stack, you've got a lot of builders now that are implementing an ERP. They're switching a CRM because they see that there's improvements over in this one. We're seeing a lot of that kind of stuff all stacking up to, 10% improvement. And if we can get a 10% improvement year over year, then that's great. And so I see, I guess to answer the question, that's a long answer to a question is, Not everybody's doing it, but there are builders that are being aggressive right now, just because we got to sell homes. I mean, that's the bottom
Well,
line. We got to figure out a way to
that,
sell homes.
that's what I was going to say too. Is just knowing that the rates have kind of stabilized a little bit. When the rates first exploded, we were looking at sevens and sixes as that first number. If there's a buy down program that can get you down into the fours, it's not so scary. It feels like a little bit more like you said, the new normal. So I think that's probably contributing to it a little bit. Is there's just I think the prices have stabilized, and now the rates are starting to come down and stabilize a little bit more. So that's kind of keeping things going, and of course nobody knows where we're headed with the election coming up and everything. That's going to have some effect, but I think it's just going to makes it easy to kind of pull the trigger, knowing that things have kind of stabilized a little bit.
Well, listen, let's don't get into a political discussion because there's no good answer on that, in my opinion. But hey, we can't let the political landscape dictate to us how successful we're going to be. We got to figure out that's going to happen on our own. If the Feds decide that inflation has calmed down and they're going to lower rates, great. But what we can't have happen is for pricing to continue to escalate. And if we have lower rates, there's going to be a run on housing. Costs are going to go back up. We're right back where we were. So I think that, again, back to what we were talking about, this is where we're going to be for a while. And, honestly, 7% is not historically, that is not a bad rate. We were spoiled because of COVID, but that was completely artificial. I mean, that was not sustainable in any way, shape, or form. And we're dealing with the aftermath of that. So if we can get down to 6, I think we all celebrate. But, like we said before, there are things that you can do, especially in the environment right now with realtors. Realtors having to pay, or buyers paying the 3% to their the buyer's agent. If that works its way out throughout the entire United States, there's a 3% that is now could be used at rate buy down, or there's some other things that you can do. But no matter how you shake it, I think builders are going to just need to plan on taking a haircut on getting, buying rates down and getting, creating that affordability, because that's something that people just kind of now expect.
Yeah. From my standpoint, I always try to focus on what builders can do on the website itself. So hopefully they do have some sort of program where they can get, some sort of a screaming rate, something that really draws the attention. The biggest thing for me is kind of reminding them that the way you treat it on the site has a big impact on how the buyer responds to it. As users, we're kind of conditioned to block out anything that looks like an ad or somebody trying to oversell us. So you want to have that rate, you want to have that monthly payment, you want to have calculators that are available. I always like to emphasize to the clients I work with to keep that, however you display that, kind of keep it tasteful. The more you can keep it kind of in line with the site, where it doesn't say, click on me, I'm an ad, the better it kind of comes across to the buyer. And I think the better chance you have of getting some engagement with that. But, whatever you can do to kind of make it feel attainable is kind of the big trigger thing to put on the site, get people interested. Again, on the site, we're really just trying to trigger that lead so we can kind of work it and nurture it. I know you work with a lot of kind of financial on the mortgage side. You have a lot of connections in that side of the industry. What are some of the programs and kind of options that you're seeing, the lenders have when they're working with the buyers?
Well, it depends on the lender. Some of the bigger ones are offering programs where, let's say that you want to buy $5 million in money that you can loan at 5.5. Okay, so you're going to pay that fee up front to buy that, to get that money that you can then loan, that can be loaned. We're seeing now where you don't have to pay that until closing, so you don't have to take that hit up front. You don't take that until you close. that's one thing that allows builders to be a little bit more flexible on offering, rate buy downs and promos and things like that. I see AI really kind of taking really the first, there's a lot of different cases for AI in the generative side, but in predictive and speeding things up, if we're looking at it like that, the AI is now being able to, the process of getting, underwritten for a loan and getting it pre-approved, that's happening in hours, minutes, even as opposed to days. You submit now. AI can go out, it can look and it can pull up the IRS database. It can look at your bank. It can see your bank statements. It can see all the things that, an underwriter needs to know to determine, what your lending power would be. That stuff's happening, in, like I said, in minutes. So you've got somebody that at point of sale, let's say you're in your model home on a kiosk, they can go in, they can get pre-approved. They're a buyer right then. So you've got that kind of, you can speed that whole process up. So it goes back to the digital first home buyer experience, which we've seen kind of, the proxy of that is buy it now. But what we know is that buy it now is really just the beginning of an entire process that needs to be looked at, because that's the thing that, it's not hard to put a buy it now button and take a deposit. That isn't hard. It's everything else that goes into that. So you've got to think about it in terms of what's the entire experience look like, and how do we kind of curate that and lead them along that path, knowing that at any point in that time, they need to pivot to analog and talk to somebody, because we know that too, that when they're, the data shows that when we're asking about loans and rates and things like that, they want to talk to somebody. They don't want to do that via chat. So you need to know, what your buyer is doing, and some of that data is available, and it makes a difference on how you market.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole picture, and kind of touching a little bit on something you said earlier. When we're talking about a website and integrating all the different features from your lender, your ERP, your CRM, all those things. A lot of times when we're building a website, the website's just a piece of it. But what we're really doing is developing custom software to integrate all those pieces of the puzzle together and kind of create a solution that a builder, one, reduces how much manpower it takes on their side to input data, to track things, just kind of bringing it all together and letting the software do the work, as opposed to having a WordPress website and then having to piece things together instead of having it all just kind of flow. So we see a lot of that. Just to wrap things up, one other thing I'd like to touch on is we've done a lot of rate promotions and price promotions and things. I would like to keep in mind all the builders out there to really focus on the emotional side of the home purchase too. You can't just go too heavy one way or the other. It's got to be a nice balance. And you can't just go on social media and only put the rate out there and not have the nice photos, the good content, everything that talks about why somebody would want to have a new home. You got to make them kind of get that emotional connection first, and then sell it off. People will rationalize the decision on the logical side once they're kind of pulled in on the emotional side.
Yeah. Well, you've got two different buyers. You've got the ones that have to move. There's a life event that's happening, and I got transferred, or whatever. You've got people that have to move, and they just, they've got to make it work one way or the other. And then you've got people that are like, well, we'd like to move over in this school district, but right now I don't want to pay, $1,000 more a month. Okay, those are the ones. There's the opportunity. That's the one that you go find, and you go bring them off the sidelines and bring them into. Here's how we can make this deal happen. We got to think in terms of, it's two things. Like we need to think of ourselves. If I'm a home builder, I'm thinking of myself as part tech, part marketing agency. Like we've got to find our buyers. We've got to use the tools that we can engage with them, so that if they want to be digital first, great. If they want to be more of a hybrid and come into the sales office, we need to have all of the marketing and all the things there as well, so that everybody's on the same page. And honestly, that's not easy to do. It's difficult for home builders to become a tech company, and they don't have to become a tech company. They just need to think in terms of What are the tools out there that can help me leverage technology to make a sale? And in that part, we know that can happen.
Well, great. This has been a great discussion. We have these kind of discussions in the office all the time, and it's always kind of nice to hear your thoughts kind of in this more kind of back and forth setting. I thought this was a good discussion. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, great. Have a good weekend, everybody.